Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have about 5 topics for this video. The first one, a massive Russian drone attack on Ukraine on the night of 22nd to 23rd of April 2025. The first one. The second topic, Ukrainians claim they attacked a large Russian ammunition depot by Moscow. Supposedly is on fire. Third topic, China deploys J-10 fighter jets to Egypt. China spreads its tentacles, so what can we do about it? And the last topic is Mr. Vice President of the United States of America, Mr. Vance, visits India for 4 days, and he makes a lot of offers, including giving India the F-35. But I will show you, in February, Russia already offered India the Sukhoi 57. So, let's start with the beginning, the first article, the first topic. Ukrainska Pravda. Russians attack Ukraine with 134 UAVs overnight. 67 drones downed, 47 go off radar. All right, so that's what? 114 out of 137, right? Russian troops attack Ukraine with 134 strike UAVs. Well, let's see what they attacked and from where. The Russians attack targeted Kharkiv, Poltava, Donetsk, Odesa, Dnipropetrovsk, and Zaporozhye Oblast. Kharkiv, Poltava, Donetsk. Let's see. All right, so this is the map of Ukraine. Poltava right here, Kharkiv is right here, they said Kiev, they said Dnipropetrovsk, right here, Zaporozhye, if I remember correctly. Let's see, again what we move, Zaporozhye, Donetsk and Odesa, Donetsk is right here, and Odessa is exactly here. So, Kiev, Poltava, Kharkiv, Kharkov, Donetsk, Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye, Odessa. This is what they attacked. Let's see where they launched their little drones from. Not here. They go together like, it goes without saying. All right. Russia rains down 134 Shahed drones. From Kharkiv to Odessa, Ukraine downs 114. So I was right with my little arithmetics. All right, let's see. The same information here. They launched them from where? Hello? All right, nothing here, no worries. Ukrinform, the same thing. Let's see, they attacked Paparaka, Tsakamaka, right here. Areas of launch, Kursk, Bryansk, Oriol. Let's go and start with the first ones. So we have Kursk, Bryansk, Oriol. Let me just give you like this. Bryansk, Kursk, Oriol. From these three, and then what else? It is from Primorsko-Akhtarsk, Shauda, and Gvardichivka in temporarily occupied Crimea. So I know Primorsko-Akhtarsk and Shauda. All right, Primorsko-Akhtarsk is right here, Shauda is right here, and the other one in the Crimean Peninsula as Cape Shauda, which is exactly here. All right, and Primorsko-Akhtarsk is exactly here. All right, so that's what they did. Now let's see what the Ukrainians claim they did in Russia. Large explosion at Russian ammunition depot east of Moscow. All right, let's see. An explosion has taken place at a Russian ammunition depot east of Moscow. Military authorities and local media are reporting. The Russians said it was just an accident. These guys connected something and boom. The blast in an ammunition warehouse took place at a defense facility in western Vladimir region on Tuesday. The site is believed to be a key ammunition storage site for Russian army. Key ammunition. The Russian military reported the blasts, saying the ammunition had detonated after the storage building caught fire due to safety violations, state media reported. All right, so let's see where that is located. Ram pam pam, not in Primorsko-Akhtarsk. We're gonna go to Moskva. So here is Moskva right here. This is Ukraine, obviously, in here. This is the Black Sea. There's the baboons in Romania. Moscow is over here, right? So that said east of Moscow. This east is on this area here, on east of it, in Vladimir. Okay, my friends, that's with that. Next one. China deploys J-10 fighters to Egypt. What does that mean? Well, that means some people are gonna be in big doo-doo. So where is that? Let's go from Moscow, let's go to Egypt. Trapataka makafaka lakabaka rakaraka. Over here, but we have here the Israel, the Jewish state. So these guys are gonna be here, and they will do what exactly? Oh, the Americans have deployed all kind of things. For what exactly? I will tell you. For Iran. Where are Iran? Not Syria. Jesus Christ, right here. This is Iran right here. So what do we have? Iran. Let me see. Right there is better. Like it is even better. So you have Iran over here. Then you have Egypt. You have Israel right here. We have the Houthis in this area. So what's going to happen? It seems like they want to do something, the Chinese. In another sign of China's growing interest in the Middle East and Africa, the People's Liberation Army's Air Force, PLAAF, has sent multiple combat aircraft to Wadi Abu Rish Air Base for Eagles of Civilization 2025, its first aerial training exercise with Egypt. The PLAAF deployed a Y-20U aerial refueling tanker and then an aircraft, J-10 BC fighters from the 18th. Okay, that means the Chinese are waking up, which is they're going to show us how they're going to pay us back for something some did to them in the past century and the previous one. Next one. Let's see what Vance promises the Indians. Market Insider, right here, Business Insider, Vice President Vance offers F-35s to India to replace Russian jets, Telegraph reports. US Vice President has offered India F-35 to replace their Russian fighter jets, the Telegraph said. Now, what do you think that is? If they give it, I don't want to have... Did you know that when the American military industrial complex provides you, a country, with its military jets, let's say F-16s or F-35s, you as a country cannot take off with your airplane unless you ask the Americans the permission to take off with your airplane? Did you know that? Sounds crazy, isn't it? So if I'm India and I'm fighting some NATO country or someone who is becomes, let's say, Pakistan, which was the US's boy over there, let's make it clear, right? I mean, United States of America's aid, military aid, includes 3 countries. Biggest country, Israel, Pakistan, and Egypt. These are the biggest, the big countries that get aid, military aid from the US. Why? Keep the Egyptians at bay so they don't do anything over there. That's one. Israel goes without saying. They just come and say, I want this, I want this, I want it, and they get it, and you pay for it. And then then it's the Pakistanis who get the biggest aid. Why? Remember when India had a little problem with Pakistan? Do you know on what side the United States was? Not on the democracy. Remember, at that time, Pakistan was a military dictatorship. We choose a dictatorship. The Soviets, the evil guys, choose democracy, which was what? India. So the Indians don't forget these kind of things. Why? That's why they have elephants, right? I'm like Kamala Harris. That's why they have elephants, because they don't forget. The Indians don't forget because they have the animals, elephants. And the elephants are only over there in India. Okay, let's go back here. So let's say India gets in a little scuffle with Pakistan and say, we want to use the F-35s, and Americans say, pass, you can't. I will tell you when I found that out, and it's crazy. So that's the first one. They want to replace the Russians, because why? Here. This is how Russia plus India plus France fooled the US resources plus technology transfer under US angry nose, Baltic fools. Okay, here, Sukhoi 57. Russia gives India most advanced fighter jets. So obviously these baboons say, oh, you know what, we're going to give you this. No, I don't want, imagine you have a car and you bought it from a dealership. Let's say you have a Ford car and you bought it from a Ford dealership or whatever. And then you want to go and buy groceries and you have to call the dealership for permission and tell them the coordinates and your, I don't know, route, wherever you're going to go. This is what's going on. Let me tell you when I found that out. Or at least you can check it out. Maybe it's not entirely true. Not true. Maybe there are more details. It's true what I'm saying. It's just there's more details. Do you remember when Russia was fighting ISIS in Syria? Remember? And then the Americans won in Syria. Remember that? Remember there were those Sukhoi 25 bombers? I think they were 24 or 25. I think it's 24 anyway. And they were bombing in the north of Syria by the border with Turkey, NATO country. Remember that one? A bomber is, the Sukhoi is old. That Sukhoi 24 is old. You can doubt it. Nevertheless, it's still hypersonic as far as I remember. Supersonic, not subsonic. So it goes over, 900 kilometers per hour. So what's going on here? And they the Russians supposedly flew this Sukhoi 24 bomber that was hitting the ISIS positions over there, entered for about 13 seconds or 27 seconds, I think it was, into the Turkish territory. Supposedly not the first time. And then the Turks used the F-16s, got in the air, and they were waiting. And when this guy entered again, they shut it down. The pilots ejected, and they were caught by ISIS and killed in a I think one survived and the other one died, if I remember correctly. And then the ISIS did that to them. And then I remember when Putin, was very angry with Erdogan after 2016 attempted coup in Turkey, and supposedly some Russians helped Erdogan not to be click, remember? But that was part. Supposedly Erdogan had some Spetsnaz troops around him at that time, but the problem is the Turkish military did not collapse. That's why Erdogan is still alive. If the Turkish military would have switched sides, they were traitors, and joined the traitors in the Turkish military at that point, Erdogan would have been dead like Saddam right now, like Gaddafi right now. But supposedly the Russians helped him a lot at that point. So Putin was very upset about it. You shoot our plane. And that's Putin who said that. You may not believe Putin. He says these guys, the F-16s that the Turks used, the missiles to shoot our airplane down, was with the Americans' consent. Without the American consent, these guys would not have been allowed to take off with the Americans' planes. And I was like, what? And I did some digging. I want to do the same thing. Well, you want India, you want F-35s, so you listen to the Americans whenever they tell you you can use them, you use them, and whenever, basically they're going to be in charge of you. Were they going to decide when you can use or not? I don't want that. Nevertheless, they can make the offer. Maybe these guys can use it. I think the Indians will do that. I say, yeah, we're going to have it, and we're going to inspect it, give it to the Russians, and that's it. If the Indians have access to it, I don't think they will give the F-35s to India. I don't think so. Why? The Indians will take the technology. The next day, the Russians will be over there. I will tell you a little story. I'm sorry, I'm going over, but going over meaning keeping you here. In the communist times in Romania, well, I'm not going to tell you about my father or anything, but he was in charge of a big company, and the company had, at that time, Felix computers. It was 1980s. The Felix computers, like a big, freaking big computers, to do some calculations and other things. So the Americans, the Romanians, the communists were doing business with the Americans with a Felix computer. So these guys, the Americans, were bringing Felix computers, doing business with the communists in Romania. And my father's, it was not our business, it was a governmental business. Anyway, over there, they will bring the computers, and after the Americans will go home to Washington, D.C. or to Las Vegas, the Soviets, within a week, will show up with their delegation and look and check it out. That's how it was, and the Americans knew this. But nevertheless, those Felix computers were not the, I don't know, NASA at that time. But it was, Felix computers. And the Soviets were coming. The same here. The same, remember when the Russian pilot in, I think it was 1980 something, 88 or something, Russian pilot with a MiG, I can't remember, MiG 31, 29, something like 29, I can't remember, flew from Vladivostok and landed into Japan, remember? The Americans were cold, but the Japanese come over, the Americans came, took it apart, got everything, and then they sent it back like this, open to the Soviets. I don't think these guys are going to do this with F-35s. That's why I don't think, one of the reasons why I don't think the Ukrainians operate the Patriot systems, operate the HIMARS, operate the Abrams tanks, operate the F-16s. Someone can take them to the Russians just like this, and then they lose the technological whatever they have in those. Simple. They don't give it to the Romanians. I mean, they give them now, but Romania is a NATO country. Ukraine is a no man's land with the corruption and who knows who's in charge over there. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.